And I asked the husband, how was that for you? Did you know about it? And he said, no, I didn't know. Every time I said this, she says I'm an asshole.
So all couples deal with conflict differently. Some scream out loud at each other, some fight very quietly. The question is, how do you know if the way a couple deals with conflict in their marriage is harmful, or if it's just part of the way that they dialogue together?
It's useful to make a distinction between good fights and bad fights, okay? Now, a good fight, you can use a dramatic model, in movies, when the antagonist lovers are going at it, usually there's a turning point, where one says something from the heart and the other one's moved by it. And then it goes differently. And when they're finished, they wind up in a better place. A bad fight is they never do that. And they just keep going and going and going at it until they walk away in exhaustion,
I'm less concerned by the style, unless of course anybody's in danger. But I'm more concerned about the repetition. That when people discover they have the same fight over and over and over again, and it never ends. That's a lot of what I work on with couples, to break those cycles, to find, break them anywhere in the cycle, and you're helping.
See, when they do that, I'm always inclined to ask them, where did you learn to do that? And back to family of origin. And then I say, wait a minute, you guys, don't you want to do it better than your parents?
I like to find places in the cycle where somebody can recognize, oh, here we go again. And at that moment, they can do something different.
That's an opportunity of recognition.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
But I think that's that point of recognition of, oh, here we go again, is more important to me than the repetition. The repetition itself is not necessarily bad. I mean, if I have a couple where one is Christian and one is Jewish, and they keep arguing about how are they raising the child, it is a constant matter of relating back to their faith basis and about what they're trying to do faith-wise for their child. So having that argument over and over again, if it's not an, oh, here we go again type of an argument, can still be a good type of thing for them to be engaging in as they continue to clarify.
My sense is that when they have the same argument over and over again, it may be totally different subjects. Right. But the argument is what is over and over again. For example, they start with a difficult subject and they have a little bit of dialogue, and then one of them starts to get hot and the other one starts to get hot, and pretty soon they're off to the races. And it's that off to the races feel that says, okay, this is the old familiar argument, even if it's about something totally different. I don't spend much time looking into why they're arguing, what they're arguing about, and more about how they argue.
If a couple's looking to self-identify, like if I'm a person watching this video and I have no idea if I need to be in therapy.
So I think the first thing is, how are they self-identifying it as whether it's a problem or not? So
Okay.
The largest category is going to be those that are saying we have a problem in the way we're arguing.
Okay.
If it's not, how do the arguments affect both parties? And is that really the way you want to be affecting your spouse and that you want to be affected by that? And if the answer to that's no, then there's also something wrong in the way you're arguing because you're creating something that you don't want as a result.
I tell them to back off a little bit and express how you're feeling about what he's saying, rather than saying you're an asshole again, or you're hurting me, or whatever, you're insensitive. How would you say that? And so they start thinking, okay, when I hear those words, I feel so belittled. I feel ignored and insulted. I feel that there's no love. So, and I asked the husband, how was that for you? Did you know about it? And he said, no, I didn't know. Every time I said this, she says I'm an asshole. And you know what? I become more of an asshole, she says, he says. So, sure, you're calling somebody something, he's going to become more of it, So.
See, in that kind of situation, she's such a bitch, I would try and get him or her, whoever's saying it, wait a minute, slow down a little bit. What's driving that anger? And usually it's a raw spot, and it's feeling, I feel deprived, I feel deserted.
I think one of the challenges too is to get them to be doing what we're doing in the office at home, and then bringing that experience from home back to the office to say how it's now actually worked not in the clinical setting too. And a lot of couples don't think of that as being part of the process when they first come in to see us. They think they're just going to come in and whatever they do for an hour a week, that's going to magically solve the situation. And it's that all around that's important.
I had such a surprise last week when a couple came in and they did what they always do in the room, and I did the work that I always do with them in the room, and then come to find out they had actually saved it all for the room. And I was so happy.
That's great. So it sounds like when couples are having lots of conflict at home, the pointers to know if it's time for therapy is if it's bothering you that you're having the fights, and if you can't figure out a way to change that pattern, that's the big sign to, call up your local therapist and see if there's someone who can help you out. And by all means, slow down.